Am I on? I am. Okay. I spent 3 Christmases super pregnant. I know. You're either pregnant or not, but I promise you there comes a point at which you are super pregnant. With my 3rd, I actually started introducing myself by saying, I'm Shana McCauley, and I am 28 months pregnant. Because I was huge. And in my first pregnancy, I interviewed when I was about at that stage. And when you get to that stage, the baby and all of the things around the baby start pushing on everything because there's just not enough room in your body anymore. And so your lungs get pushed up, your bladder certainly gets pushed, and lots of things are out of place. So I'm in this interview, and my lungs are not able to fill all the way, and so I'm panting as I answer their questions. So they ask me a question, and I answer a little, and I'm like, hold on, let me finish in a second. And everybody is sort of going, is she going to go into labor? Like, it's not labor, I promise, I just can't breathe. So somewhere around the 8th month, for me, with all 3 pregnancies, I started to panic that I would die in labor. It was this really constant fear that sort of filled my imagination. And somewhere around 9 months, it didn't matter anymore. So I was still scared, but also this needed to end. And there was just not enough room in my skin for me and the other being, and so something was gonna need to go. This is the moment that Mary is in chronologically. But in the church, we're at Advent 4 and not at Christmas Eve. So tonight will be Christmas Eve. Come back. I hope that you do. It will be lovely. But right now, we are celebrating Mary. This is our introduction in the liturgical year to Mary. This is the first time we get to meet her at the very beginning of the book of Luke. And so we start back at the very beginning. Mary is ordinary. Mary is so ordinary that we don't get any introduction to her. She's not the baker's daughter or the woman who does the blah, blah, blah. None of that. We don't get any of that. What we get is the angel showing up at her house in Galilee and knocking on the door and entering and saying, "Greetings, favored one." And Mary is perplexed. She doesn't understand what's happening. I imagine that you and I would also be perplexed and would also not understand what was happening. And it's really important, I think, for us to remember that Mary was ordinary. Mary was one of us. She was just like us, except the angel came, and the angel comes and says, "You are favored, and you will carry the Messiah, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the one whose kingdom will never end." And Mary says, "How?" Right? How? She knows about her situation and knows that she has not done the thing that will make her pregnant. And so she says to the angel, "How?" And the angel says, "With God, all things are possible. And your cousin, who is an old lady and is barren, is now pregnant, 6 months along." And then Mary doesn't have any more questions. And she says, "Here am I." It's really unwise, and it is absolutely impossible. Mary is in a dangerous situation socially. This is not what unwed really a child, not what unwed people did at that time, women. And physically, she will know for sure, she will have known people who have died in childbirth. So she will know not only that this is socially dangerous, but also that it is physically dangerous. And she says, yes. I wonder if Mary is the first person that Gabriel asked or the last. Can't you imagine other young women saying, Cool, but no thanks, right? Because that was the sensible thing to do. But Mary said yes. I wonder what unwise, impossible thing you are being called to It's the end of the year. It's when we start thinking back on the year that has passed, when Time Magazine and CBS will tell you who died. When you look back at 2023 and you look forward to 2024, what unwise, impossible thing is the Spirit calling you to? This meme kind of pops up in my feed every now and again, which is, it says, somewhere someone is waiting for you to live your call so they can live theirs. Who might be waiting for you? What might they need you to do so that they can do their thing? The angel Gabriel leaves Mary with one last thing, which is a partner. The angel says, your cousin is pregnant. It is also impossible for her. And so Mary goes and finds her cousin, and together they celebrate, they rejoice. They are able to walk together, or maybe waddle together, I don't know. Towards the end it gets, something. But here's the thing. The angel gave you and me someone too. In fact, the angel gives us to one another. There is some impossible, unwise thing that you are called to, and that I am called to, and that we get to walk with each other through. Have y'all been here on a Wednesday morning? Some of you have. I know some of you are here on the regular. On Wednesday mornings, this Kempton Hall becomes a totally different place. There are well over 100, I would assume, people who come through, volunteers and folks who are hungry. There is a sit-down, plated hot lunch that gets served at their tables. They usually have decorations on them, and there are Trinity folks and Trinity folks who come together around a meal. We all can feed people. That's a thing that you all have the gift of, and I certainly have the gift of. There is something exponentially amazing about the way that the Wednesday lunch happens here. In fact, the lunch that happens every day, except Sundays, here at Trinity, where it's not just people feeding each other, but it is people, a community, feeding a community. So whether people are coming because they're physically hungry or spiritually hungry or lonely, community hungry, they meet here. And here, something magic happens, because when we do community right, we are able to do unwise, impossible things in beautiful, amazing ways that we couldn't imagine before. A friend of mine talked about in an interview, they asked her what her, it's that really awful question of like, what's your least great quality, or what are you the worst at, or something that we all lie about, because who's going to be like, yeah, I'm a terrible liar or lazy or whatever. Anyway, so they asked her this question, and she had the most perfect answer I've ever heard, which is, I don't dream as big for myself as God dreams for me. I guarantee you, God has a bigger dream for you and for me than we can imagine. And the angels give us one another so that we can come together and do unwise and unimaginable things. Also, at the Wednesday lunch, there is always a piano player. It's usually Ward, but there are other people who play, and it's almost always show tunes. So I go home on Wednesdays with Oklahoma in my head, or like Some Enchanted Evening. A couple weeks ago, it was the soundtrack for Home Alone. It's great. It's just so lovely, and it makes my spirit so joyful. Mary says yes. Mary says, here am I. And then her soul sings. Her soul. When they do the lunch together, they sing. And when we do the work together, when we say yes to the unwise, impossible thing. Together, our souls sing. May we all say yes. Amen.